This episode is brought to you by DistroKid.
With Amex Gold, you can experience the gold standard. You get access to exceptional dining, plus 4 times membership rewards points on eligible dining purchases. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Cap applies. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.
Hey there, ghouls, ghosts, and interplanetary monsters. Happy Halloween week. Today's guest is Michael Bishop, also known as Blöthar the Berserker, lead vocalist for the Richmond, Virginia metal band GWAR. Together we dissect the writing, recording, and inspiration behind the fan-favorite single, The Road Behind, taken from their 1992 album, America Must Be Destroyed. The Road Behind is classic GWAR, wrapped in a parody of a heavy metal power ballad. A song that very easily could have been left off the record, as original lead vocalist Dave Brockie, also known as Odorous Arungus, didn't like the song. Michael said it was producer Glenn Robinson who championed the song, convincing Dave and the rest of the band to record it. And it's a good thing they did. The Road Behind became one of GWAR's signature songs, and the video for it got a thumbs up from none other than Beavis and Butthead when featured on their show. And it didn't get much bigger than a nod from those two characters in the early 90s. So for all this, and a school bus full of musty-smelling, mildew-stained costumes, don't you dare touch that dial.
Hey, hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast.
Michael, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for sitting in. I see masks behind you, so I'm assuming you're either in at home or at your warehouse, or maybe that's both.
Yeah, I'm at the warehouse. I live in Sarasota, Florida, so I come up to Richmond where the band rehearses to work.
You don't say. Well, I grew up 30 miles south of Sarasota in Port Charlotte, and I
nice.
Yeah, and I went to school up in Gainesville at the University of Florida, so we're would have been neighbors at some point. Yeah. You know, I was thinking about GWAR this morning. I saw you guys back when I was still in high school, and what a legendary band. I just want to thank you for doing what you guys did all these years and continue to do. In my opinion, paved the way for a lot of bands that
cool.
later on had the type of stage show you guys have. And
right.
To explain to somebody what is GWAR? And in researching for the episode, I think this pretty much sums it up. Identified by their distinctly grotesque costumes, GWAR's core thematic and visual concept revolves around an elaborate science fiction-themed mythology, which portrays the band members as barbaric, interplanetary warriors.
That sounds right.
I'm sure there's naysayers out there. I've never met anybody that doesn't like GWAR. I mean, you guys are just so much fun.
I've definitely met people who didn't like GWAR, but we are fun.
Absolutely. And Less Than Jake, my band, had the pleasure right before you took back over. We played with GWAR in 2014 at the Soundwave Festival. Got to hang out with the guys. It was about a month prior to Dave Brockie passing away, also known as Odorous Arungus. And in researching the episode, I went back and noticed that you were with the band from 87 to 93 and again from 98 to 99. And now, of course, 2014 present, you've been
right.
Blöthar the Berserker, providing lead vocals.
Yep. Yeah, I when we talk about this song, that'll be from that first period that I was in the band. I was a much younger man.
weren't we all? And the song you're talking about is The Road Behind from GWAR's album America Must Be Destroyed, which was released on March 31st, 1992 on Metal Blade Records. And, I don't know. And I went and looked on YouTube, and I saw the clip when you guys were featured on a couple of them, but you guys were featured on Beavis and Butthead, which is one of the coolest things in the world. And the first comment on the clip of Road Behind with Beavis and Butthead, the very first comment on YouTube, and I have to quote it here. It's so sad that the youth of today will never understand the importance of being worshipped by Beavis and Butthead. and GWAR, you had the honor of that.
Yeah.
What was that like at the time being accepted? Because you had bands like Winger that, had their whole career thrown under the bus by these two cartoon characters.
Yeah. I mean, it was great. Like Mike Judge helped us a great deal with that. And it just made sense. I mean, for the characters, right? Like this sort of total meathead kids, like, of course, GWAR is their favorite band because it's ridiculous, and so are they. It's like, and it really does sort of like the kinds of kids that he was modeling them on are exactly our fans, and they were back then too. So it's interesting. Luckily, the world hasn't changed that much. And, there's still kids like that out there. So
that's definitely a great point. And I had looked up who produced the record, a fellow named Glenn Robinson. He honed his production chops in the 80s, working alongside Keith Richards, George Martin. And he produced everyone and worked with everyone from the Ramones to the Beach Boys. His production of GWAR's Phallus in Wonderland DVD was nominated for a Grammy in '92 and lost to Best Long Form Music Video to Annie Lennox.
That's right.
I didn't know that. I had no idea, but that you guys were in the same company as Annie Lennox. And then I really feel you guys got robbed in '96. You were nominated for Best Metal Performance, but lost to 9 Inch Nails. They're just not metal. No offense to Trent Reznor.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, it's the Grammys is just like, I don't know. It's always been sort of a weird, like, I have no idea how GWAR got nominated for a Grammy to begin with, but like, just the fact that they put us up against Annie Lennox, it's like, how were we going to win that, right?
Absolutely. I was talking to my producer before we started rolling here, and the one thing that struck me, I know you guys have probably 7, 8 people in the band at one time on stage?
Now there's 7 members of GWAR.
Okay.
But we, on stage, will most often have about 9.
Right.
Or 8 or 9. And then at the time that we did that record, there were 14 members of the band.
And it's just amazing that you guys were able... I know how hard it is. I know what it costs to tour, and you guys have such a huge operation. When I was at Soundwave Festival in Australia, I was telling my producer before we started rolling, they had these huge cases, and you have to ship those, and that is not cheap. And the production you guys have been running. I mean, maybe the show's gotten bigger, but the show to me, when I saw it in 91 or 92, it was pretty much what you're doing now. It doesn't look like you scaled down at all.
I mean, we've figured out ways to make it more affordable. I mean, that's always been the problem with GWAR, is that like the show that we do, because the band never really sort of like crossed that line where, okay, now you're making really, really good money that would allow you to, have the production values that, even somebody like Marilyn Manson or like, out on tour, like they can afford a lot more, Slipknot.
Sure.
And it's weird. It's interesting to me because those bands that can afford a lot more, like they so often spend it on like these very, some bands do a lot with it, but a lot of times they don't, right? It's like there's just a bunch of sort of the same kind of production elements.
Sure.
But we just do it all shoestring,
And that gives it that campy feel too, which is great. It's
yes,
I don't know if you'd want it to be cutting edge, state of the art production with big screens. I mean, that would be cool, but I think there's a certain punk rock feel, which I want to talk about that. When I mentioned earlier that I'd never really met anybody that didn't like GWAR. My punk friends loved GWAR, and so did my metal friends. Not a lot of bands like that. Motorhead falls in that category. I think that's a pretty cool spot to be in.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, like, and it depends. I mean, now, sort of like, metal did take this kind of serious turn. And GWAR, to be honest with you, is more comfortable in the universe of punk rock. I mean, that's really where it comes from. And it's what it is, I mean, even down to like hanging around backstage, right? Like, I mean, we were always just a lot more comfortable hanging around the punk rock dudes. We we'd rather be with Murphy's Law than Fate's Warning, right? Like backstage. I mean, just for example, right?
We'd rather be. I want to make a bumper sticker that says that. And you know what? I like Fate's Warning too, but hey, that's just me.
Me too. They're great. It's just that like I was trying to think of. I was literally like sort of in my brain, like what I did right there was I was thinking like bands we had a lot of fun with.
Oh yeah,
bands that it felt really awkward. It's like
that is awesome. Well, I want to jump in. I want to jump into the song here. This is a long one. This song's 5 minutes and 30 seconds. The Road Behind. There's a 35-second acoustic guitar intro complete with someone whistling. There's some light cymbal flourishes and some well-placed finger snaps, followed by a big drum fill. And those drum fills, that's 2 in succession, like these triplets that become a running theme and anchor of the song, followed by 8 bars of distorted guitar, bass guitar, and drums to lead us into verse 1. There's a lot going on here with these lyrics, and I really have no idea what the heck you guys are talking about. I'm really curious about these, so I'm going to read all of them, and we'll go pick through them, Michael.
All right.
Well, I'm traveling down that road, and I'm carrying that heavy load. I stagger around in a stupor. Sleazy, I can't do the show. I'm hanging out backstage. I'm in a homicidal rage. I signed $1 million contract. I puked on every page. Slaughtered half the crew because they ate my deli tray. Oh, baby, hey, I said I'd do the show, and I canceled anyway. You were a roadkill, baby, till I scraped you in my arms. Just another waddle flapping on the old turkey farm. So, baby. What's happened? What is the waddle flapping is just killing me.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the good things about this song is that it really captures the sort of energy that GWAR had at that time, which is still the energy that GWAR has when the band is firing on all cylinders, right? Which is that we're trying to make each other laugh. And these are the things that, like most bands, I think, do when you're riding down the road and you're like, and you're friends with the people that, I mean, that's a big assumption, right? That you're friends with the people that you're traveling with.
Yes.
A lot of bands aren't, but like GWAR, these are the guys that I knew when I was in high school. I mean, I was in the band when this was recorded. Shit. I mean, I was in the band when I was 17. So, I mean, and these are like the people that, I enjoyed being around. I mean, and we would try to make each other crack up, and in GWAR, we would just sort of, like a lot of times I would write lyrics hoping that the singer Dave would laugh at them, right? Like, and it's weird because this song, like the reason that the lyrics stayed largely the same is because Dave, he didn't want to do the song. Like he didn't, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, he didn't want to do it. And Glenn was like, we're going to do it because it's got this sort of ballad, like sort of obvious, producers are always thinking like radio stuff.
Well, I got a question for you right there. Let me stop you. So at this point, I noticed that the song was track 11 out of 12. So when you're working on the song at this point, usually you didn't bury a song that late in the record if you thought it had single potential.
No.
Was that the last thing on everyone's mind, maybe except producer Glenn Robinson?
I think you're right about that. Yeah. I mean, like we wanted, the other thing is that we structured that record a little bit around, I mean, look, GWAR's never made the best decisions, right? But like, I think that, feeling like it didn't, that it stuck out. We weren't at all sure when we sequenced that record that people wouldn't hate it because it was obvious to us that it was tongue in cheek. But in the moment, I don't think, we were worried about that. And so you have to understand too, that GWAR came from, and this is an important distinction. Glenn might have been thinking radio, but like you said, I mean, GWAR we came from punk rock, and like one defining factor, maybe not of punk rock, British punk rock certainly, but American hardcore, right, which is really what we came out of, is that there wasn't ever any really real thought to the commercial potential of music, right? Like it was understood that this was not going to be something that was on the radio.
Right.
This is not going to be making a lot of money. And you're making that music working on that assumption. You don't call your band the Butthole Surfers if you expect to be on the fucking radio. So like,
right.
And we were GWAR. I mean, like we didn't suffer those illusions. I think that Glenn might have. So when we sequenced the record, yeah. And also like, I mean, why would he leave it at 5 minutes and 30 seconds if he thought it could be on the radio? It's like, it should have been a lot shorter if that's really what he wanted to do with it.
Well, I had read that the song's a kind of a parody of the power ballads at the time. You get the whistling off the top. That was like Scorpions, Guns N' Roses. Everyone had a whistle song, and right. the acoustic things. So, I mean, if you're even remotely a fan of GWAR, you're going to know this was tongue in cheek. However, I will say, the choruses of this song are about as happy and pretty as GWAR ever got. So if you're a casual listener, you might be like, oh yeah, this is, another metal ballad that was happening and somehow getting the radio in 1992.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I mean, the song actually has somewhere there is a version of this song that was recorded. I don't know. I mean, it's on tapes somewhere. I tracked the vocals on the song. I tracked the whole song. Because when I say that Dave didn't want to do it, I mean he didn't want to do it.
He didn't want to do it. Oh,
and then, like, when Glenn was very pumped on it, Dave came in and was like, all right, I if this is going to be on the record, then I want to sing it, right? So which made sense to me. I didn't, like, argue with him about it. So, but then they kept my vocal on the chorus.
Okay. I didn't think that was Dave. It sounded definitely different than his delivery. I didn't think his voice was gonna change that much. Some cool stuff here in verse 1. The drums go from a really loud, heavy intro to tuck down here in the beginning of verse 1, along with an acoustic guitar and bass guitar. On the line, I puked on every page. Stereo guitars come back in as the acoustic guitar drops out and the drums get heavier on the hi-hat. This continues for the rest of verse 1. We get a harmony on Oh Baby Hey, a harmony in a GWAR song. Who knew?
Yeah. Yeah.
And at the end of the verse here, when Dave says, "So baby," that big drum fill happens again 2 times in succession with stereo guitars and bass guitar to transition into chorus 1, sung by Michael. Chorus 1 hits to the point of this probably not being a single. It hits at the 1 minute and 42 second mark.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of your songs were over by then.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it just had to be. I think with that record, we were just going for it, man. And I love it. I mean, a lot of people think it's one of the best records we did. Literally, like I said, I mean, a lot of times, like even with the record sequencing, we were thinking about the show, thinking about like what GWAR was like live. And this really was an attempt to, just like you said, I mean, to parody the Scorpions, to parody, and also though, like the road theme, right? Because it always seems so ridiculous to me. Like the bands were like, especially these bands that make all this money. And it's like, at the time that this record was recorded, we were traveling the country in a school bus that was converted, and we were parking out. And it was weird because the band reached like the pinnacle of our popularity before we ever moved to buses. So we're like riding down the road, parking it in front of the Palladium, which is sold out in LA. There's our yellow school bus, and just there were so many ridiculous things about GWAR. But
what a collective eyesore that thing was, pulling into a sit-go at 2:30 in the morning in Nebraska. The looks you guys got.
Yeah, and we got pulled over a lot, and the cops would like pull everything out and look at it. And,
of course,
because at first we carried the props in the bus, and then later on, we of course had a box truck and then a semi. But like at the time, we were rolling. But yeah, I mean, so like, I don't know why I said all that, other than to say that like, I just don't think that we were thinking of sort of the commercial potential of it, except for that we were thinking of it as being very, funny.
Okay. Did you look at it almost as a novelty song, just like something fun, tongue in cheek? Who cares?
Definitely. Yeah, it was definitely a novelty song. And now we did know from doing Sick of You, which was also a novelty song, that like, and this is the way it works, man, that like people always like these outliers, like,
yeah,
and then it's like, all right, well, here's this song that's like different than any other song that we've done, but that's the song that people sort of attach to.
Yeah, and one more thing I wanted to talk about when you were mentioning the school bus. I'm assuming there was no money for dry cleaning back then, so I can't imagine what that thing smelled like.
Oh, it was horrible. Especially after like, we've been running around New Orleans with no effects all night, and everybody's on acid, and then you spill some Clamato somewhere, like, perfect.
Oh my, I love it. Well, the chorus lyric, chorus 1 at the 1 minute 42 second mark. Here it is. While the wheels keep rolling and another milepost gone, all along the road behind. That lyric is hilarious now that I think about it. It's, here you guys are wasted driving down the road, and I know those bands you were talking about. They'd be cheersing in the back lounge with their Bud Lights or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm on the road, and they're lighting a cigarette in slow motion. And
right, yeah.
You guys are completely taking the piss out of it here. Oh, yeah. Can't you hear me calling? Just like the sad whale song. I'm on that road behind. Is that in reference to that White Lion tune about the whales?
No, it's not. Although
you know what song I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Little Fighter. Yeah. Okay.
It should be.
Yeah, I thought that you were talking about Little Fighter from White Lion with that reference.
No,
what is that?
We just loved like the idea of whales like as creatures, and we would always. I mean, you have to understand that a lot of times, like lines like that would come out of this sort of collective mythos that we were building that had no real direction, right? It was just like shit that we were saying on the bus when we were all high, like to make each other laugh, right? So like you start talking about whales and like, oh yeah, but of course GWAR is like, like we use whales in this way, like, GWAR reacts to whales this way. And we're thinking about the sort of multiverse, like GWAR in the comic, right?
Well, because there was a lot of, save the whales campaigns in the late 80s, early 90s. Star Trek 4 was about saving the whales. You had the White Lion song, and there was a couple other ones. I can't exactly remember what it was.
Yeah, and so we were always thinking like, it turns out that the whales are just these pathetic creatures that are like giants of the floating around crying in the ocean, and the sound of a whale song too is just they're always kind of hilarious to me anyway.
Hey everybody, don't go anywhere. We got lots more with Michael Bishop coming right up after a few words from our sponsors.
Looking to elevate your music career? DistroKid is a digital music distribution service that enables musicians to distribute their music to online stores and streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments, sending them to you, the artist. With DistroKid, artists unlock a world of possibilities. From easily paying collaborators with splits to securing your music with DistroLock, DistroKid covers all bases. Plus, you can promote your releases with Hyperfollow and create eye-catching visuals with a Spotify Canvas generator, all for free. But that's not all. Introducing the DistroKid app, now available on iOS and Android. Artists can manage their releases, view streaming stats, and withdraw earnings, all from the palm of their hand. And for those looking to perfect their sound, check out Mixia. With its simple interface and customizable mastering options, artists can make their music sound polished and professional within minutes. And don't forget about Instant Share, DistroKid's newest feature. Share large files securely with collaborators, producers, and more, ensuring your music streams at the highest quality. Ready to take your music to the next level? Download the DistroKid app and explore their suite of tools today. Plus, listeners can enjoy 30% off their first year by visiting distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes. That's distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes.
Oh, it's such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Shop Blinds.com right now and get up to 45% off select styles. Rules and restrictions may apply.
One Hit Thunder is a podcast where we both celebrate and have a good laugh about bands and artists that had just one hit that we all know. Each week, we're joined by a guest from the world of music or comedy to learn more than you ever thought you would about some songs that you can't forget. And we decide if they brought the One Hit Thunder or were nothing more than a one-hit blunder. Look, if you listen to the show, you're probably going to laugh, and I guarantee you're going to crush next time the bar has music trivia. Tag Team, Jane Child, Meredith Brooks, Looking Glass, Sean Mullins, Eiffel 65, EMF, Crash Test Dummies, Crazy Town, Chumbawamba. We have hundreds of episodes in our back catalog and a new episode each week, so pass the Dutchie, make sure you're connected, and subscribe to One Hit Thunder wherever you get your pods. And now, back to the show.
Michael, is this you on the harmonies in the chorus on Post, Gone, and Sad Whale Song?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I love that. The harmony's not on Milepost. It's just on Post, Gone, just the back half. I think that's cool. The drums go to the ride cymbal here in the chorus. And dare I say, I mentioned this a little bit ago, dare I say GWAR gets pretty here for a moment in the chorus. Bass guitar and stereo guitars are in here as well, alternating between bar chords and octaves. And there's a single tambourine panned off right that hits on every other snare. On the last lyric, I'm on that road behind, the band stops and the stereo guitars ring out and a drum fill pickup takes us right into verse 2.
Well, there you have it, baby. I'm just a sensitive guy. You know I snuffed a million plans, but I still find time to cry. Because there's more to life than making other people die. Like a little bloody tear, baby, running out my dirty little eye. And some things, baby, they don't make no sense. Doesn't really matter if it bought your parents, you're a roadkill, baby. I script you in my arms, another while flapping on the old tacky box. So baby, quit your crime, put the clown bridges on.
Well, there you have it, baby. I'm just a sensitive guy. The way he sings that line's hilarious. Doesn't sound very sensitive.
No.
You know, I snuffed a million planets, but I still find time to cry because there's more to life than making other people die.
Right.
Like a little bloody tear, baby, running out my dirty little eye. And some things, baby, they don't make no sense. Does it really matter if it bugs your parents? You're a roadkill, baby. I scraped you in my arms. Ow. Another waddle flapping on the old turkey farm. So baby, quit your crying. Put them clown britches on.
Yeah.
What are clown britches?
Really what we were thinking of was like, we had a guitar player at the time named Dewey. And he had been in all these like sort of kind of like metallic punk stuff, like Broken Bones type shit. But Dewey was a little bit rock and roll, right? And he would wear these sort of European, he spent a lot of time in Germany and all that stuff. So he wear these like European sort of like blousy pants. And we just called him his clown britches,
Okay.
just like fucking with him, and so that made it into the song.
I think that is so awesome because let's go back to this time period, 90, 91, 92. You guys are traveling in vans. You finally get in a school bus. You didn't have cell phones to look at. At best, you had a terrible cassette player up front that you were sick of whatever cassette you're listening. You couldn't listen to the demos you got on tour anymore. You were tired of those. So you're sitting around making fun of each other. You're laughing. You're trying to make Dave laugh. Hey, here's some lyrics. It kind of was like you had time on your hand, and it seems like you put a lot of that time into your work.
Yeah, we did, for sure. I mean, I used to, it's funny, like, we often laugh about, there was one time period where we were working and we started doing day labor, some of us, right? Like, cause you couldn't hold a fucking job cause you kept leaving, right?
Yeah.
So we were like, all right, well, and nobody, I mean, of course we'd all gone to school, but we hadn't pieced it together yet that we could actually do shit that wasn't horrible. So we're out there, like, and we're working day labor. And I remember that it's like me and the guy that played Sleazy P. Martini and the guy, the Balsack, the guitar player, and a couple other guys from the band. And we're spreading asphalt. Like, that's the job that we're doing. It's like the worst, stinkiest, like one of those hot boiling asphalt trucks. Like,
brutal.
Oh man. And the guys that we're working with, they're like, yeah, so you a band? And we're like, yeah, we're like, and just somebody said, just starts laughing, is like, we're the next big thing, right? Like as we're sort of shoveling this asphalt, like, and it was just like, we all just fucking cracked up about it.
No, and that's why I respect the heck out of you guys, because I know the conditions. I know how you were out there slogging it and traveling. Here you are pulling up to the Palladium in a school bus. The show's sold out. Yeah, you made money, but I know what it costs to get home from the Palladium in a school bus. I know what it costs. You had all those band members. I don't know what how financially you broke it up, but there was a lot of people, a lot of mouths to feed. And here you were selling out the Palladium, and a week later you're spreading asphalt. That's commendable.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we were doing. And that's what we did for many, many years. And then, at some point, I think we figured out, and the band, it wouldn't have had to be that way, if we lived somewhere else, but we lived in Richmond, Virginia. It's like, we're not living in Los Angeles where you can put these skills to use, right? That's just sort of what it was. I mean, there's not a lot of call for making big rubber monsters in Richmond, Virginia in the 80s.
Oh, man. Well, the same overall instrumentation as verse 1 happens here in verse 2. The intensity of the drums tucks back down again, along with the bass and acoustic guitar. On the line, running out my dirty little eye. Stereo guitars come back in there in the same spot arrangement as verse 1. And again, on the last line, put them clown britches on. Big drum fill again happens 2 times with stereo guitars and the bass locked in with the drums to take us into chorus 2. Same thing here. Same lyric, same instrumentation. The harmonies are in the same spot. Post Gone and Sad Whale Song. And after this chorus, it's followed by 4 bars of just the guitars ringing out, those big stereo guitars ringing out. A single snare drum hits 3 times, and a new guitar panned off left happens that we're going to get into in a second. But right before we go into the lead guitar section, there's an "Oh Yeah" that's very Richmond. Who did that "Oh Yeah"?
Oh yeah, I actually think that's I can't remember, man. I feel like it wasn't somebody normal. It was like
okay,
or not. No, when I say that, I mean it probably wasn't somebody normal, but it wasn't somebody that would normally be doing vocals. So I think it was either Dirks or the guitar player, or it could have even been Brad.
That "Oh Yeah" really made me laugh because, and again, if you didn't know this was tongue-in-cheek, that hit you over the head right there because there was a lot of bands in the early 90s, the metal bands, they couldn't figure out what to do when grunge hit, a lot of the hair metal and stuff. And they started adopting this almost country twang. Like Bret Michaels had this southern kind of thing going. And when I heard that "Oh Yeah," it dropped me. Yeah. It's pretty funny. After "Oh Yeah," it's followed by 25 bars of music. Pretty much it's a guitar solo section of the whole band rocking out. Bars 1 through 8 of this section, the guitar panned off left is playing a lead with the stereo guitars, bass, and drums. And we're back to the ride cymbal here in this section on the drums. On bars 9 through 16, another high-pitched guitar joins in pan left. And on bars 17 through 25, both stereo guitars, especially guitar panned off left, get more riffy here. And we get that big drum fill for the last two bars to drop us in to chorus 3. This section's cool. You know, like, do you remember how this section came about in terms of like, hey, we're going to keep it this long? Because out of everything in the song, it's like, wow, you guys went somewhere that musically, this section doesn't sound like it's a parody, if that makes sense.
You know, it's weird because like when we did this song, like I remember like GWAR's never gotten its due musically. I mean, like that's just a fact. But like, I remember being on tour with COC recently, and we did this song, and like Mike Dean being like, you know, yeah, you guys really got musical right there. And I'm like, out of all of our songs, which are like, you know, like this is the one that you would listen to and be like, oh, okay, there's some musicality there. But, you know, it was funny. I mean, it is funny. I mean, what Dierks is doing on the guitar is very simple. Like it's a lead, but it's really just like one note. And that was always his thing, was like, I want to reduce, like take this sort of reductive approach to playing leads, like, you know, and break it down, you know, because it's not like a ripping lead. It's just like, you know, you know, like kind of over and over again. And yeah, it was, to us, we were listening to it and laughing when we would listen back to it. But it does have some emotion, and I think that's because music has emotion, and it's moving under the sounds that it makes, the harmony kind of moving underneath that. By harmony, I mean the chords moving under that melody is emotional, and it just works. It just comes off. Partly it's because that vocabulary of music, if you try to adopt it, it is emotional. It's really, and it's very melodramatic, you know. And it does appeal to these people's sort of sentimentality, and it just works. I mean, I guess that's why people do it.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the Black Sabbath track? It was off the album Heaven and Hell with Ronnie James Dio called Children of the Sea.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. For whatever reason, I keep singing that in my head, but I'm intertwining it. I'm Frankensteining it with the chorus of this song. I don't know if you ever picked up on those two before, but it's been driving me nuts.
It's over, that it just had to be. They say that it's over, we're lost children of the sea.
I was this morning singing it as I'm dropping my 7 and 6-year-old off at school. So thank you for that. GWAR and Black Sabbath in my head. It could definitely be worse. Chorus 3. We're going to get into this. It comes right off the lead after we get those two big drum fills in succession. I want to pick back up real quick with Glenn Robinson, the producer, because I started to talk about him a little bit ago, but he also produced Voivod's Nothing Face album, which I love, in '89. I think that is just...
And that's why he produced our record, because we loved it.
Forward speed. Will to walk. Cross down beat. Fingers fall. Far from reach. Mind to talk.
I remember Glenn being very surprised. You know, he's a French-Canadian guy, and he was very surprised. He's like, yeah, you didn't want me for all this other stuff. You wanted me because you love Voivod, and they did this, right? And he hadn't thought of that as a big record in his career.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's worked with Steve Miller, David Bowie, AC/DC, Todd Rundgren,
Yeah.
George Martin. So to him, Voivod was just, that's just some little project. But to you and I, we know the importance of that record. I mean, I got people like, Stephen Egerton from Descendants. I mean, we talked one night for hours about that record.
It's a great record, and they're still a great band. I love Michelle so much, and just, but it was an important record, and Voivod. One thing that they did was they picked up on the kind of vocabulary of De Kreutzen, right? Like,
oh yeah,
that vocabulary. Hearing them do a sort of metal version of De Kreutzen, it was like, oh, okay, that whole thing was very influential in Richmond. So there was a sort of locality thing going on where we just adored, and you hear it in the music that we're writing, right? That there's lots of these sort of tritones and lots of like weird stuff going on. Maybe less on this record, but certainly on the next record after this one, there was a lot more of that, and we just, I mean, Nothing Face was a huge record for us.
Absolutely. Well, chorus 3, right out of the lead section after the drum fill, we get the same lyrics again, although this chorus is 1.5 times. Okay. Little kind of like a fake out before we go to the outro. So all the same lyrics, harmonies are in the same spot, Post Gone and Sad Whale Song, pretty much the same instrumentation, except the acoustic guitar is super loud in chorus 3 here. Do you remember having that conversation? The acoustic was taken out of the other 2 choruses.
Yeah, I mean, we just wanted it to be like super cheesy, like, bring in like the acoustic.
Okay. I didn't know if maybe the mute button was on the other 2 choruses and you decided to leave it in for the third, or hey, we're going to put the kitchen sink in here.
Yeah, I mean, we really wanted it to be like, we're leaving no doubt. Because one thing about like the aesthetic of the song is that, like we were driven by hammering in the satirical aspects of it. That's informing the musical decisions there.
Well, when Odorous says, I'm on that road behind, that big drum turnaround happens again with the guitars and the bass slightly changing up the riff. The bass goes to this higher register. It's pretty cool. And then this lyric comes in, while the wheels keep rolling. And another milepost gone, all alone on the road behind. We get a harmony on Post Gone. What was the thinking there of having kind of the half chorus turnaround before the outro, just to shake it up a bit?
Yeah. I think we might have been just trying to give more room to the vocals and the, like more of an opportunity to sing that very catchy sort of chorus thing without like making it too long. I mean, probably the halfness of it came out of, right, all right, looking at the clock, it's like, all right, well, it's already 5 minutes, and don't do it a whole other time. Let's just do it half a time.
Did anybody question the length of this song? I know Dave didn't want to do it. It was kind of an afterthought. It was song 11 out of 12, and here it ends up being one of your signature songs. So did you ever say, hey, maybe we should trim this part, or it was what it was?
I mean, at the time, you got to remember, like, everybody's thinking vinyl's dead. So it's not like, you're not working from the assumption like, oh, this is going to have to be a double record. It's like, you're not even thinking about it like coming out in that way. So, I mean, like, when I look back at it, you look at these CDs that we were making and we're putting like fucking 14, 16 songs on them. Like, what the fuck were we doing? We could have turned that into 3 records,
I know. I remember getting a Rancid record that had like 21 songs on it at midnight. I'm like, what is going on? Like, to your point, you could have had three records with this thing.
Yeah. And I mean, we just, that's just what it's a way that things were changing. And so like, at the time, the length didn't really matter that much. And I do remember joking about it. I was like, why don't we just like, make it like a Fela Kuti single where like, you do an LP with one song on each side. It's like
12-inch dance signal.
yeah.
Well, the last line here, on the road behind, we get a roar, like a monsterish vocal, which is kind of out of character for the rest of this song. It would fit in quite well with a number of other GWAR tracks. And at that point, the stereo guitars hang over from chorus 3, and the acoustic guitar playing that arpeggiated part from the top is back in with light cymbal flourishes, but no finger snaps here at the end. What happened to the finger snaps? They were at the top of the song.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're trying to toughen it up a little at the end, like
okay,
because
okay.
I think what you hear here is like sonically, you actually hear this sort of effort at being satirical, and an effort at being beautiful, and an effort at trying to make sure that people understand the song and don't hear it and think, oh, GWAR has sold out. Like, I mean, all of these things are sort of informing some of the aesthetic decisions. Like, there's a lot of back and forth, and we're always kind of trying to make sure that it reflects the character of the band, but at the same time make it, fulfill the goal of the song, which is, to be sort of like a little bit commercial, but just enough to, so we're kind of pulling it back a lot. And GWAR would do that a lot. And Dave actually, like, I mean, he honed that into an aesthetic of the band. Like, this sort of, like, we would write these songs that had some sort of, even like radio potential, right? And then he would just, or even just potential as like a really good metal song. And then he would call the song Tick Tits. It's like
we're gonna cut its feet off before it even gets out of the gate.
Yeah, and he would do that shit deliberately, and it that's just what we did, man. Like, that, because like I said, somewhere in the back of our brains there was, look, DRI's crossover didn't fucking work, right? like it's never gonna work. Right.
Yeah.
Like just go ahead and make it fucking stupid.
That's such a great point. They were in a list. I was going to talk about them when I mentioned Motorhead earlier. DRI tried that. They, are they hardcore? Are they punk? Or are they metal? And that's a hard line to straddle. And GWAR is definitely, you're one of the best at doing that.
Where the wheels keep rolling and another cycle's gone. Baby, can't you hear me calling like a sad whale song? Like a sad whale song. Sad whale, baby.
Well, the wheels keep rolling, and another signpost gone. Not milepost this time.
Yeah. That's just sloppiness.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. It's just drunkenness.
Baby, can't you hear me calling? Like a sad whale song. And that whistle comes back in only on that one line, like a sad whale song. And then another lyric is like a sad whale song again. And then the last thing is just spoken. Sad whale, baby. Who said that?
That's me, I think.
That is? Okay.
Yeah.
And then it ends with an acoustic guitar.
Could be Dave, but it's one or the other.
Over that spoken word, it ends with an acoustic guitar panned off left with some light cymbal flourishes. And that's the last thing you hear. So this silly song, this tongue-in-cheek song, track 11 out of 12, the producer was interested in it. The band could kind of take it or leave it. Dave was just completely against it. And here it becomes one of your signature songs that, 30 plus years later, you're still talking about.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's just nothing about this business works the way that you think it's going to. That's for sure.
Great point.
Yeah. And, I mean, that we've noticed it again and again that like, people just experience the music differently. It's all about reception, right? Like how people receive the music is what matters ultimately. And what we're trying to do with it almost doesn't matter as much. Like that's one thing I've noticed. Like, and the things that we think are important, the things that drive us but somehow it all works out. It's like, it becomes, and I think one thing that it does is that it really speaks to how fans create meaning through reception, right? In other words, like what we intended that song to be and how we thought of the song is ultimately simply not as important as the meaning that they were able to make from it and to take from it. And for them, it's like, well, this articulates perfectly what I think GWAR is, right? Like it's funny, it's lighthearted, it's emotional in a way, it's ironic, and I can see them like sort of, attaching to it, but it also kind of has this bass musicality, right? Like that's like skillful in a way. I mean, like even though it's a super simple song, and as you know, because you're a musician, like those are the songs that are hard, right?
Yeah.
Songs where there's a lot of space, that's the shit that's hard to do.
I think what you said in the last minute pretty much sums up why I continue after 4 years to do this show. It's that meaning of, I mean, it's that meaning. What you just said was perfect. The way you articulated it was absolutely perfect, Michael, of how it's the fans. I don't make myself, or you don't, or anybody who, I don't care who it is, the biggest stars in the world, Rolling Stones, they don't make themselves stars. The fans make you a star. The fans make those songs live. The memories of those songs live. So, what you said was really hit me, man. It was really profound.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you for sitting in today. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Again, I said it at the top. I want to thank you for all your years of doing what you do. And what do you got coming up in the world of GWAR?
Well, I mean, right now we're writing songs. That's why I'm here and not in beautiful Florida fishing, because we're writing tunes. And, as the singer of the band, like, which is just, I don't know. It's a weird thing, right? Being a singer, like, what do? You show up with your microphone, you sit there and listen to dudes do stuff, and then you like hop in and drop your melodies on top of it. It's a weird activity, but I'm doing it. And so that's what they're doing. And as far as what we're going to do, we're also preparing for a tour, which by the time this comes out will already be over probably. But like we should be out because it's Halloween. GWAR is going to be out playing until I think the middle or towards the end of November on tour. And we are preparing a bunch of different stuff for release. We got this Barbie thing that we recorded, like a cover of I'm Just Ken, and we did sort of some really raw versions of a few other tunes in that studio session. So we'll probably be putting that out, and then we'll, there's a bunch of stuff coming out. So we're just plugging along, man. Not a legacy band, that's for sure.
Well, once again, thank you so much for sitting in, and make sure you check out GWAR this fall on tour.
Thanks.
Hey, everybody, I hope you all enjoyed that conversation with Michael Bishop, and I got lots to talk to Chris about in the rap segment that's coming right up after a few words from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. The holidays are here, and you know what that means. It's time to get your friends and family the gifts they deserve. Take the stress out of shopping with Amazon's great deals and low prices on a huge range of items from toys to tech and much more. Whoever you're gifting for, Amazon has great prices on everything you need this holiday season. Shop early holiday deals now.
The holiday season officially starts when you get that first card in the mail. Shutterfly makes it easy to add more meaning to the everyday with hundreds of holiday card designs that can be personalized in seconds with your favorite photos from this year. Select your greeting, customize the color, and even add little extras like personalized foil to make a holiday card that really shines. Enjoy 40% off with code SMILE40 at Shutterfly.com and send something meaningful this year. See site for more details.
Hey friends, have you been loving Chris DeMakes a Podcast? Well, spread the love by leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't hesitate to share what you enjoy about the show in an actual written review on Apple Podcasts. Not only does it help more people discover us, but we often read reviews in the rap segment of the show. It's a quick, cost-free way to support us, and takes just a minute of your time. Your reviews mean the world to us and help us keep the podcast thriving. Thank you for being a listener, and thank you for being a friend.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes a Podcast, email your best song via MP3 only and a short bio to bandyoumighttnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured artist is Stankfinger, a soaring seaside ska punk band with a sprinkling of pop from Great Yarmouth, UK. With a name that not only pokes fun at the grimy underbelly of their hometown, but also simultaneously pays homage to some of their influences. Stankfinger are sure to get people talking before even playing a single note. Formed in 2018, they are moshing their way through the world one town at a time. And I recently had the pleasure of spending some time with their guitar player, Mr. James Pendle, and he was my guitar tech over on a recent tour in Europe. James, how you doing? Here's a snippet of their song, Help Yourself.
Just hold on tight, come on, sing it with me. Run it up, kid, run it up, kid. Tuck a week, get ready for the next hit. Help yourself, kid, help yourself, kid. Tuck a roll, cause you know you gotta take this. Gotta make it, I gotta make it. Hold tight, you know you gotta make it. Run it up, kid, run it up, kid. Run it up, cause you know you gotta make this.
The Wrap with Chris and Chris.
Chris, I was obviously excited about a GWAR episode, but what I did not expect is to find so many things from the conversation relatable in a GWAR episode. Everything from when he was talking about riding down the road with your friends, the people you're traveling with, the people you make music with, and you just try to make each other laugh, especially in the context of music. My friends and I always do that. Do you know how many joke songs we've recorded with each other, and even songs that started as something funny and became an actual song for my band? I love that. I'm sure you've done the same.
Oh, gosh, yeah. And I just love Michael's, just his humbleness. Just, he knows.
Yeah.
Where GWAR's place is in rock and roll. Okay. He knows that this is just a bunch of guys getting together to make themselves laugh that has somehow turned into this 35-year thing.
Yeah, he said GWAR is more comfortable in the world of punk rock than metal. You know, GWAR's like us, man. Also, speaking of relatable, especially for me, he was talking about how they were touring and playing cool shows and then having to go home and work day labor jobs to make ends meet in between tours. Never has something been more relatable to me in my life. I would come home from an awesome tour and go work at the scrapyard. So, I love that. That endears me to a band so much. That's the definition of a hardworking band, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a blue collar working band. I've always respected that. I've met guys that have to come home, and they've said before, I'm a little embarrassed. I have to go to my server job, or I have to go bartend. I'm like, I always would be like the first one to their defense. Why are you embarrassed? You still get to play music. And, he said it, that here they are in their school bus, 4,000 tickets sold out in Los Angeles. And, they got to go home and work jobs. But let's talk about how many people at one point were in that band, upwards of 14. So it was like, they invited the whole neighborhood. Hey, let's get the school bus and put on some masks. And you know what the thing smelled like. There was no dry cleaning in the budget. Here they are romping around. And what else was there to do but make each other laugh, right, Chris?
That's right. And like you said, that's a lot of mouths to feed. Even if you're selling out the Palladium, that's still between the production that is a GWAR show, which, maybe they've figured out a few tricks along the way to save a few bucks on it, but it's a big show with a lot of people involved. And I love all that. Also, when it relates to this song, I don't know how many episodes of the After Party we've done, Chris, where we've talked about that era of music, because you're a metalhead, and that era where the 80s metal bands didn't know what to do in the early 90s. Grunge is coming on, and there's a lot of the power ballads and stuff. So for this song to be, because this song is right from that time.
Oh, yeah.
So this is like a satirical look at that, and like in the funniest way possible. This is awesome.
Yeah, and a producer is there to oversee the project. We've talked about the producer's role many times on the show before, but in this instance, here's this producer sitting back, and Michael kind of thought maybe he was hearing some kind of commercial thing with this, maybe he can get in the radio, but I think that producer Glenn Robinson kind of saw through it for what it was. And like Michael said at the end, how the fans relate to this. This is the embodiment of what GWAR is. And somehow the producer saw that, even when Dave Brockie, also known as Odorous Arungus, the original lead vocalist, was adamant about not doing this song.
Right. I mean, Michael said it. Nothing about this business works the way you think it's going to. This song was an effort at being satirical, but as Michael said, it was also an effort at being beautiful. There are parts of this song that are pretty. And at the same time, he, or the band in general, were thinking to themselves, we don't want people to think, oh man, GWAR is selling out. We don't want people to think that. And then, on top of all that, I thought it was really funny how he talked about Dave saying that, GWAR as this thing, it's never going to work as a mainstream thing. Just go ahead and make it stupid. Call the song, work on this song, but then call it Tick Tits, or whatever, fish fuck or whatever. So I loved this episode, man. I thought this was such a great look into, I don't know, what goes on inside the minds of a band like GWAR.
Yeah. What a, just what a groundbreaking, amazing band. I've always loved them and always loved what they stood for. If you haven't already, head over to ChrisDeMakes.com and sign up for our supporting cast. It's like our Patreon, where you get extra bonus episodes of the After Party, where Chris and I will talk more at you, because some of you like that, I guess. So go to ChrisDeMakes.com and sign up over there. And also keep sending those 5-star reviews to Apple. We appreciate them. You got one to read today, Chris? Or are we just going to move on? Maybe? Yes, no?
No, I got one today. From someone named, this is an interesting name, Chris, College Radio DJ.
Perfect. I'll take it.
Left us 5 stars and said, great podcast. I love the breakdowns of the music that are interesting and thorough, but in a friendly, non-intimidating way. The episode on the Outfield's Your Love is really terrific. Hey, Chris, that's a pretty good compliment, because that episode was me and you.
Yes, that was it.
That wasn't even with a guest.
No guest.
And then they said, maybe feature the Judy Bats on a future show. I don't know who the Judy Bats are. Do you, Chris?
I've heard the name, but I don't know anything about the Judy Bats. So let's take a look into that.
Yeah, I will take a look into that.
College Radio DJ, thank you very much. And like I said, keep those reviews coming. And I want to thank this week's guest, Michael Bishop, also known as Blöthar the Berserker, for sitting in with us. And we'll see you next week. Hey there, Chris DeMakes a Podcast listeners. Ready to take your podcast experience to the next level? By signing up for the supporting cast at ChrisDeMakes.com, you not only ensure the continued production of our show, but also unlock exclusive perks. Subscribers receive a weekly bonus episode of our other podcast, The After Party, co-hosted by Chris Fafalius and myself. Many fans rave that The After Party is just as enjoyable as the main show. And with close to 200 music-centric episodes in the archive, there's a treasure trove of entertainment awaiting you. Thank you for tuning in and for your support in keeping the podcast going strong. Join us at ChrisDeMakes.com and let's keep the fun conversations going.
At Leidos, a brilliant mind is smart, but a brilliant team is smarter. A ship that finds enemy subs is smart, but an autonomous fleet, that's smarter. Defending against cyber attacks? Smart. Stopping attacks before they start? Smarter. And using AI tools is smart, but integrating trusted mission AI into your technology is smarter. We're not just making technology solutions in national security and health. We're making smart smarter. Leidos.
What makes a song a smash on the charts? Is it talent? Luck? Timing? Well, as chart analyst and pop critic Chris Molanphy would say, it's all that and more. Chris hosts Hit Parade, a podcast from Slate, where he tells tales from more than a half-century of pop chart history. Through storytelling, trivia, and song snippets, he dissects how the artists you love or hate dominated the airwaves and shaped your memories forever. He's explained why Steely Dan is yacht rock and Jimmy Buffett isn't, why girl groups dominated the early 60s and boy bands the late 90s, how the members of disco band Chic wrote a bass line that launched hip-hop, how Taylor Swift pivoted from country to pop, how Sam Cooke invented soul and James Brown invented funk, and what exactly a one-hit wonder is, and whether the band Aha is a one-hit wonder. I think you'd really like it. So for Tales of the Hits from Coast to Coast, make sure to follow Hit Parade wherever you get your podcasts.